That's exactly right. And you guys, I'm just going to kick it off with a little recap because we're at episode 31. We just published this morning the conversation with the head of global change management for PepsiCo. And like last night, what you saw in the forest and what we're working on now is really a recap to ask the question, what the heck have we learned about the people initiatives? And today I'm jazzed to talk about, how do we transcend organizational silos of expertise, silos. I keep hearing silos about everything. Employee data, silos, right? Expertise, silos, leadership, silos. How do we go beyond that? But what was intriguing about our early conversations, it wasn't even the program that you guys created, which I can't wait to talk about, but it's the chemistry of the team that created the program. And I realize it's not just the three of you. There's an entire stakeholder team that's supporting you across these silos that we'll talk about. But the three of you bring something interesting into the conversation. When I have a one-on-one, there's chemistry. And I've been avoiding having more than one guest just because chemistry is hard when you go beyond two people. Every new person you add, it's like it gets weird and awkward. And this is our third or fourth conversation, the four of us. And the three of you are operating like a unit. And then in the beginning, you were all laughing with me. You were like, we're Avengers. I'm like, yeah, right. This is just for... No, you were like serious about being Avengers. So we got to kick this off. Do you have a Thor? Do you have a Hulk? I'm going to go to you, Matt, first, then Ina, then Christine. Like, what's this Avenger thing? How serious are you taking this?
Do we want to start?
Matt,
we want to start there right now?
Yeah, Matt, let's go straight into the Avenger conversation because this is where it all begins.
Sure, that's great. Yeah, well, we do try to bring these elements of fun into our working team. We've been able to assemble this great cast of team members. We got stakeholders, we got executive sponsors, and so the idea of, hey, this is kind of like the Avengers. We all have our own roles and superpowers in the sense of things that we're gifted at, and that we are passionate about and that we do well. And so there's clear roles and responsibilities, but we all have each other's back. We're all working together. So it just kind of flowed out this concept of a Avenger team, and so we've had fun with it. Everybody's picked a character, and usually they reflect their skill sets or their personality. So yeah, we have a Thor and an Iron Man and Captain America and Star-Lord and Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, the whole works. And, we have some non-Marvel characters as well. Christine. Well, no, so Christine, you're Mrs. Oz, right? From the Wizard of Oz, that behind the scenes.
Why is that, Christine? Why are you...
Oh, well, normally, so unlike this podcast, I normally like to stay behind the scenes. I'm not usually in the forefront speaking. I usually am supporting those who are speaking, so as a comms person, it's usually just a major support. So I like to refer to myself as Oz because I'm behind the curtain, kind of helping the talking head in a sense. So there was no Avengers character at that time that had that superpower. So I was like, I think I'm just going to switch it off to becoming Mrs. Oz, so they call me that.
Hey, we're making up the rules as we go, so why the heck not?
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely the first team that I've had a character on, but to Matt's point, I think it's fun because it also provides buy-in from each of us of like, we have to really internalize our characters so that we can contribute to the team, and it's been great. I mean, I feel like having this sense of camaraderie and really designating each person to a certain character has brought in our team to life that I haven't been a part of, in my career. I feel like I've never designated myself as a Marvel or a comic character ever, so it's kind of neat.
Neither have I. And Ina, you sent the email, you said think about your character. I'm still puzzled. I'm still thinking through it. And before we talk about, Ina, your take on the Avengers, Matt, it only took a few years with the company for you to get to this point, right? I think you just celebrated only 27 years. Is that right?
Just a few years. It's been a short career, and I actually, to be honest, so I just hit 27 years at the beginning of December. And within those 27 years, I've been in 3 roles. So I'm a long-term role player, and I like to get into an organization and learn everything I can about it, master everything I can. And every 10, 15 years or so, I'll move on and do another challenge. And so, but I will say my current role is probably my favorite, because it's completely outside of where I come from. I come from mechanical engineering background, and so started off in research and development, and then reliability. Now I'm in operations, and I've never done operations, and most of what I'm doing right now is HR related, and I don't have any HR background, but the skill sets that I do have, I can bring to this team, that's the fun thing about us. I mean, none of us are traditional HR people, right? Christine is marketing, and Ina's engineering background, and workforce development, and so again, it's that we all have our skills, and we came together to create this team, and we even have pictures of ourselves, of our characters on our presentations that we give, and
you guys are taking it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt, you're somewhat of a unicorn, from an analytical mindset, same organization, still excited, spearheading the innovation. Ina, your take on the Avengers?
My take, I was thinking, what are we? Who are we? And it's really about the Goldilocks mix of skills, experiences, and personalities. And I was wondering, what are some key ingredients that really make us who we are? Because we are unique, and it's recognized internally, externally. We're having fun. We evolved into brand. And the three ingredients that come to mind are passion, pride, and humility. And you may wonder, what does passion have to do with, passion is about being passionate and all in about what we do and why we do it. But pride and humility are often viewed as kind of the opposites. But we all have pride in leading with mastery. We have pride in our work. But on the other hand, we have enough pinch of humility to be able to learn, change, and evolve. Learn from each other, learn from our stakeholders, learn from external environment, and evolve so that we can deliver the best results regardless of the external or internal environment. And another thing is, and both Matt and Christine alluded to it, there is no competition in our Avenger team. As motivated, as driven as we are, we play to win as one team, just like Avengers do, or superheroes do in the movies.
Love that. And the chemistry that we're experiencing now and this vibe, this is the vibe. This is for conversation, literally no change in vibe. Maybe the vibe changes a little if you guys, have a few drinks or something, but that remains to be seen. But here's...
Vibe gets better with a few drinks at it.
So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to ask you a question we haven't discussed, and then we're going to kind of talk about what was the trigger moment for the creation of the program? How did you build the program, right? And Matt, in our discussion, you said jumping off the cliff, start to build, and then they get passengers on board. Love that. But I'm going to do kind of like, if you could, because the TAP program has been really successful, and that's what intrigued me, right? You've done something extraordinary. It's not just within the organization, creating change. It's not just one pilot you've run, you're scaling, so it's been validated. You have partners that are outside of your organization, including the academia, which is very difficult to do, right? From personal experience, we've tried to partner with academia, and I don't know how you've accomplished it. Maybe that's a separate podcast, but we'll go to Christine first, then Ina, then Matt. The question is, kind of a couple things that are, because for the listeners, I want them to kind of get the buy-in to listen to the rest of this episode, right? What are the successes of the TAP program from your perspective? Why would someone care to learn about the successes that you've created through this program? So Christine, maybe you first kind of do a single
Sure.
click highlights first, and then maybe I'll double click on a few before we get into the program.
Sure. I think this program, the successes have been because of the need to do this internal first mentality within the company. And it's a shift in our culture for Seagate, where we really wanted to grow the team we have versus, a team that we want to have. and to nurture that internally first. So creating an environment where development and learning is a priority and it's felt and throughout, the company from the top down and down up, was why it was created and why it is so successful is because we really have that support from our executive team, and it's consistent with all of the messaging that we do to our audience, to our participants, pretty much. And we customize it based on the needs of the business at that specific time. So that is, I feel like, why it's grown so much and has become popular within the company.
If you said those, the first two and not the third, like I was having the pause. I'm like,
Yeah.
Are we going to go to the business side of things? Are we going to talk about the business outcomes? And I got to say, in this recap that we're working on now of what we've learned in the last 6 months, if you want to be relevant in L&D, in change management, in any kind of a people initiatives, you must get close to the business outcomes. If you don't, you're just, you're over there. Your option is nice to have. Ina, how would you think about the success of TAP? Should I say TAP or TAP?
We call it TAP. Yeah, it's a lot to say, so we shorten it.
To me, the success of TAP, the big component of it is having the seat at the table at the executive level and also with our employees. The program is completely voluntary. It takes a lot of efforts, university level curriculum, dedication over time. Nevertheless, we're constantly sold out. A lot of times by 40%, by 60%. We don't have to bring people to the table. They want to be at the table. And I believe the culture, these key ingredients that I talked about really are a big driver. People see the passion, they see the purpose, and also we listen. Listening is key. We listen to our stakeholders, we listen to our partners, and we listen to our customers, employees. And we change. We're open to admit that this is what we're going to change based on your feedback. And this builds trust. And that's how we earn a seat at the table.
I love the term sold out because often we talk about mandatory or we talk about the voluntold, right? Like, yeah, sure, it's optional, but we'll check if you're there and if you're in attendance. Love that. So Matt, we'll go to you. But Matt, what does TAP stand for? I realized I didn't I didn't say it. I just went straight to TAP.
Yeah. So Talent Acceleration Program. And we went through a couple iterations before we settled on this one. And this really, captured what we're trying to do is take the existing talent that we have in the company. We have fantastic resources, highly skilled people, and how do we really invest in them, right? I mean, a lot of people will talk about that, right? We've had a lot of people on talking about L&D and how we train people. And I loved your conversation with Terrence from Emerson talking about business objectives versus, or business outcomes versus learning objectives. And, and that is really one of the big highlights of our program is we're not focused on the learning objectives. This is not learning for learning's sake. Nobody's being, told to go do this voluntold, right? Use the prisoner example in that podcast. And no, everybody that we serve wants to do this. And so we've got 1,000 people that have raised their hand, and many of them are doing it because they want to change roles. And this is a huge enabler in the company. I've never seen this in my years with the company. This attitude of hey, we need people over in these new areas of the company, and we're willing to train you. And you can come from this part of the organization. You can move over to the other organization. We'll do everything we need to. From a learning standpoint, from a logistics standpoint, and believe me, there's a lot of logistics that we've had to figure out of how do we get people from here to there within a company, because of the silos and not in my backyard and resource hoarding and these issues but we're really this is a way the company has put feet on its words of we support our people, and they've demonstrated they've spent the money, they've spent the time, they've changed the processes, they've and so to me that's the big thing about what we've been able to do is is, really put some meat on this concept of empowering employees to learn things that they will need to learn, that the company needs them to learn, and enable people to move around.
I mean, you talked about, hey, putting meat behind, putting a kind of action behind your words. I mean, we live in the world of people initiatives where it's so easy to talk about people first, purpose, values, leadership behaviors. We believe in talent here, all the things. But when it comes time to allocating resources, budgets, growing capabilities, all of a sudden, where are the business outcomes? This is what we're going to focus on, and this is this is over there. And when we spoke about the program, this really came through for me. You built it in 5 months from, and you said these are your words, whiteboard to launch inside an enterprise. I mean, mind blown, right? Like in that period of time, that sounds like a startup. It sounds like a startup came together, said we're going to go do something, and we're not going to sleep or eat, or we're going to crush it. So I'm going to go to Ina, Christine, Matt, and just like maybe what would be, as you look back at the success of getting it there in 5 months, maybe 1 or 2 lessons at a single click for now. Like, how do you think about what did you do to make this successful from whiteboard to launch in 5 months? Ina first.
All right. I think it starts with this entrepreneurial mindset. We really did lean into it as a talent upskilling startup. And this is how we position what we do as a small core team at the time. And our core team included chiefs of staffs of some of our key executives. We were all in, and we said, we're going to lean in. We're going to experiment. We may not get everything right the first time. We'll also use some of the successes with some other approaches as a kind of a launch pad and build from there. And we're going to experiment and learn early. So we're going to launch in 5 months, and we're going to keep iterating based on feedback and based on business needs. And I think setting the stage that we are a talent upskilling startup really helped us be successful and launch in 5 months.
Christine, we're there, and maybe you already have the response, but, and maybe it's for you or Matt. I'm also curious from a stakeholder perspective. Early on, who are the important stakeholders to build involved in the process? So if you don't, if you weren't thinking that, you don't have to. We'll just come back to it in a little bit.
Okay. Well, the stakeholders, really, we needed the support from the top, because ultimately, when it comes to having a priority list of company strategic initiatives that need to be in place for us, for the next couple of years, we needed that type of support. So I feel like that kind of guidance and that prioritization needed to come from the top, because, ultimately our team will then gather together to support whatever, they feel like is necessary to build to build Seagate for success in the next, 5 to 10 years. So that needed to happen. But as far as building it in the 5 months, keep in mind, we did this during COVID pretty much, so this program's gone through the VUCA test of, so many different problematic areas that could have happened at that time with everyone, working from home. All of the, just the various issues that came during that time period. And we're still kind of seeing it now with the economic, downturn in the market. And so it's just been nice to build a program, but also keep on reinventing it to be successful every time something like this happens.
Perfect. Matt, what are some of the things? I do talk about things now a lot, like with the conversation with kids, and I'm just things. What are the things that you did with
the things? Yes,
yeah, the things that you did.
I'm gonna keep running with something that Christine said about the executive support, and I think this was huge. I've been involved in a lot of projects where you come up with a great idea and you try to push it uphill, and it's not very successful. So I think that's one of the biggest pieces that helped us be successful and run so fast. One of them is significant support from the executive team, and this ties into our focus on the business objectives. And because everybody asks us how do you get such good support, and how do you get buy-in from management, and the simple answer is by listening to them, by talking to them. What do you need? As you look out and you're doing your planning for your roadmap, your 3-year planning, whatever it is that you use for the future, what do you need? Because we want to help, and we're focused on a particular area of training people and preparing them for the future. But if you can understand what those needs are, and you can show them that you can deliver on those needs, well, who wouldn't want to support you, right? These are the kinds of people you want to surround yourself with, who understand what you need and are able to help you get it. So that was one of the big enablers, was our executive support. And then we've got such a fantastic high performing team. And we're from all different areas of the business, right? We're not we never knew each other before we got together. Christine and I have never met in person. But when you surround yourself with really fantastic people, and you're all bought in, you can accomplish so much so fast.
Feels like they're sitting right next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
A saying came to mind: as steel sharpens steel, right? So when you're run with people of this caliber, that's when you accomplish things.
And maybe for the listener, let's just give them just a little color. The program itself, what kind of, are we talking about workshops? Or we're talking about, online? Is this an array of different skills? And I know we can go really, really deep into it. There's so much involved. But I just want to dismiss for the audience that maybe there's something here that, that's they haven't seen before. Maybe there is. Can you guys provide some high-level pillars that are the makeup of this program? Well, let's go to maybe who wants to go first?
I'll jump in. So this is university level training. So we've identified for each of the areas, we call them specialty tracks. So think new technologies that are becoming more important to companies. I'll give an example of security, right? Online security. We talk about data breaches and those things. So the idea of having many experts in your company in the area of security, right? A lot of tech companies, a lot of non-tech companies now need that type of training. So what can you do in a year to get people up to speed on what they need to know for something like security? So it's university level classes, and it's 8 to 10 classes. It's about a year, sometimes a little longer, depending on the difficulty of the courses. But these are some off the shelf courses that our university partner has. Many of them are custom, and so we work with the university, and we work with internal stakeholders, people who are experts in this area within the company. Who know what people need to know, and will build courses. And so it's a fairly significant commitment.
With you, a year, and that shows true investment into your team members. And Ina, you talked about the vertical and horizontal integration, right? Because again, we're talking about breaking silos here. Silos exist across all levels. How do you think about the integrations that we discussed?
I consider, and I thought about it from different angles, that we really, within a year, we evolved as a new brand, if you will, its own brand of a high-performing team, an adventure team. And vertical and horizontal integrations means that our executive stakeholders, as well as our internal and external partners, are core members of the team. And this serves a few purposes. Of course, the agility, decision speed, the ability to pivot as external environment change. We do it as a unit, as one team. But most importantly, it really builds this sense of one team, and we win as a team on all levels, and also accountability on all levels, including up to executive level with commitments and decisions. So that's what I mean by vertical and horizontal integration. And now we view you guys as all our Avenger team, right? You're getting our story out, so you are in. So that's the concept. And in fact, we are starting to hear, actually with a good frequency, when some challenging opportunity or strategic goal arises, we get questions like, "Are Avengers on it?" So we are a brand.
That is awesome. I can imagine it's rewarding for you all. You know, it's like, hey, we're calling on for the Avengers, and I think it's also important to touch on a bit on the impact this program creates from a recruiting perspective. It's not just for within the organization, those that are fortunate enough to be a part of the company that makes this type of investment. Christine, can you talk about how does this show up on the recruiting side?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I've been with the company for 2 years now, and I've been with this is my third Fortune 500 company that I've been with. I've never experienced a culture like Seagate's where they really care about the employees. And with that said, for me, it's rewarding from my personal standpoint because I feel valued as far as my contributions to the team to help bring opportunities to employees, because we've really brought this not only to our what we call the our employees who are in the office, but also to manufacturing employees, right? It's all across the board. I've never seen such an openness and of opportunities for everyone in the company. That's literally our cultures. We always want to think, how can we deliver this to not just the professionals, but the manufacturing employees as well, our manufacturing specialists. And so with recruitment, this is key. I mean, I think a lot of employees or a lot of people looking for companies really want to grow these days. And we've been kind of a secret little jewel in the company, but the secret's out, I feel like. And it's a good thing because Seagate really is doing a development culture within ourselves. And we are prioritizing that with our employees, and it's leaking. It's leaking to the external world now because everyone's really proud of where we've come from in the past 2 years and where we're headed. So as far as recruitment, this is a key piece for them to bring in people who want to be a part of this culture.
And you can see, like, if company A you work for, has the following available, and company B has the following plus a university inside the organization, that if you are the type of person that's looking to accelerate your career, right, that's the organization you join, right? That's of more interest to you. If you're looking for high performing, by definition, those folks are looking to continue to accelerate their careers. Universities, right? So let's talk just briefly about probably a separate podcast or a couple that we can do on that. But which one of you, or maybe it's all of you, can you comment on what is the university role has been? Again, single click for now, and also what is the recognition that you've received because you're doing something that is hybrid. This is highly unusual.
Sounds good. And I will probably start with briefly highlighting at a very high level how we choose a partner, because we're very purposeful who we partner with. If you recall, TAP program was designed to meet and fulfill strategic skill set needs of the company. So we needed a partner with a startup business mentality, and the partner who could scale up and down with us, who could co-create with us, who could partner with us on all levels. And therefore, we looked at a number of academic partners, and we chose the one that fit this mold, that are willing to evolve into new ways of partnering between academia and business. So this is what we are. We're a talent upskilling startup, and our partner should fit the same mold to run with us. Totally. Matt, do you want to pick up from there?
Yeah, and that's been really just a key to our success is partnering with a supplier that has the same mentality. Because we could run super fast within the company, but if we can't, get the product, in this case the learning, in the time manner that that timeliness that we need, we would not have been successful if we couldn't get the customization that we need. Because some of the things that we're training inside the company, there's not many people in the world that know these things, right? This is new tech. We're a tech company. There's a lot of new technology, and so to be able to partner with with somebody who has that depth internally is great, and that's really helped us be successful, and they're as flexible as we are. All right, so we're not tied into those kind of those contracts where we're talking about butts in seats, right? That's not that's not what we need to be flexible and agile and respond to the business, right? We're not trying to sell tickets to training. We're trying to meet the business objectives, and so having that training partner have that same mindset, where they're just not trying to fill their own classes, right? They're willing to work with us, whether it's small classes, large classes, offering it in the way that we need. We're a global company. We got to be able to deliver this to anybody, anywhere. That's been key.
Just interesting choice of words. You said, product, in this case, learning and development. It's only a few times I've heard of folks refer to learning and development as a product. And the first time I've heard of it, I was like, oh, did you make a mistake? Really? And now as I hear it, I'm like, wait a second. The way we think about product and the user experience and the way we think about the journey, this is a very interesting reframing. And the second thing you said is customization. A customization of the university, of the curriculum. Holy moly, you're basically a hybrid of, hey, they understand certain aspects, you understand your industry, your depth, what you need. You got to blend it. This is highly... Christine, your thoughts on the partnership with the universities?
Yeah, I feel like a big part was the quality of the experience, because if our participants, our students were not getting a great learning experience, they're going to drop out, or they're going to, our ratings are going to be, down. And that was huge when we looked at what universities could do this, because we really do keep track. Like, we have MPI scores with them. And they listen to feedback from the students. If they're not happy with teachers, we revamp the courses on a regular basis, because we want a quality experience for our consumers, our students, our participants, and that's pretty much why we've been really successful the past couple of years, because our partner is really, it's like an extension of our own selves. They are really formulating these training curriculums to help prepare the employees for where we need to go for Seagate's future.
Totally. And you said our consumer. Right, this is a perfect entry point, and if I had the soundtrack, I'd probably play the Star Trek, to go where no man has gone before. Like, we're consumerization. Been thinking a lot about consumerization, and we had Spirit Airlines come on. I think it's been a month since that interview, and I get some pushback. Like, hey, we're not here to sell stuff, right? Some may think consumerization is about sales, but no. Consumerization is about really, it's this idea that the employee is emerging as the primary driver. Like, they are the focus. This is what happened when first iPhones and iPads were introduced inside enterprise, right? They help to say, wait, why are we having clunky technologies? This idea that we need to reorient our product. Matt, you said product. How do we reorient our product? So in this next set of questions and conversations, really, thinking about how would you take TAP, right? And how would you think about, meeting the pressure to consumerize the employee experience? And as I think about TAP, and you think about the employee experience through that, step one is awareness. Maybe awareness, then interest. Are you thinking about, hey, how do we launch, the broader awareness within the organization of the programs that are available? Or how do you have folks who raise their hand maybe to learn a little bit more? Like, talk to me a bit, and let's go to Matt first, then Christine, then Ina. Like, what is your thought process to meet this pressure to consumerize? And again, to me, consumerization is also, I'm on Instagram, Everyone around me is on social media. I see a long paragraph, like a long email with many paragraphs. My brain just goes, wait a second, that's for a different point in time. So, Matt, consumerization.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great concept, and I agree with it. It's not about the bad side of when you think of consumerization, about selling people things. We're not here to sell people things. We're here to provide solutions to people. And one of the great success stories that relates to this is when we started, we were focusing on what we call our specialty tracks, which are pretty in-depth technical training. And we had a huge demand for it, and more than we could take on. And since these are fairly in-depth topics, there's some prerequisites and some knowledge that people need. And we had people come back to us and are saying, we really want to do this. I want to learn these things. I want to move into these roles. I need this type of training for my job because this new technology is coming into my role now, and I need to come up to speed, but I just don't have that foundational knowledge, those prerequisites to get into it. And so that was our first expansion. And this was the second quarter that after launch. So we had launched our first 3 5 months after the whiteboard, and then immediately developed and launched another mode of training, which was, this more foundational, we call it our boot camps. And this is the training that you need to get into this more advanced training. And so we're trying to provide, for everybody, regardless of where you're at in your experience and background, and so it's listening to what our customers, this would be the employees and those employees that want to that participate and learn and develop, and providing what they need in order to succeed. And so it's all about, from this standpoint, we've got 2 sets of customers. We've got our executive stakeholders and with the business objectives, and then we've got our other consumer customers, which would be the employees who want to take this training, who want to learn and develop, and they have needs, they want to be able to to get the learning that fits their schedule. Everybody's got jobs. So maybe it's a weekend, maybe it's evenings, working with management. Hey, let's let them do this, as part of their job. Right. And they're in office hours. And as Christine mentioned about the feedback from the university and the performance there. And so that's how I look at this consumerization is we spend a lot of time and focus, as our company, looking at our customers and what they want and getting that feedback. And well, let's apply that to our little startup and the customers, which are the employees, and to see what they really need, and then adjust. And, we ended up having over 400 people sign up for these boot camps. And again, this was the second quarter after our launch, and it's been our most popular offering.
That speaks to the demand, right? That speaks to the product you've created. Christine, how do you think about consumerization or the pressures to consumerize?
I feel like with my marketing background, I've always looked at employees as consumers. They are our customers in a sense, but they're also human beings, and we have to treat them as such, and so with that, it's just really important to know the demographic that you are tailoring your, whatever it is, the products, solutions, programs, initiatives that we are developing for that specific audience, so that it fits their need for the specific moment for not only the business, but for the employee themselves. It has to really tailor to that specific moment in life so that they can buy in, no pun intended,
totally.
Buy into what we're selling. And so this is where I feel like Seagate's really turning our leaf over and becoming a best-in-class company when it comes to this, because we've really developed and looked at the customer experience from an employee standpoint to help them, I guess, in a way, sell a product that they might not even know that they want, in a sense. And that's, I think, a great positive thing for our company to do for our employees, just to provide growth. If we're not going to grow as a company if we can't grow our individual contributors. So consumerizing is nothing new, but like I said, it's, tailoring it to the human aspect of it is important as well.
You see, that's an interesting thought. Without them even knowing that they want it or they need it, it's almost like AirPods. I didn't know. They looked very weird when I first saw the AirPods. They look like, why? I'd never wear. Well, now I have 3 pairs of AirPods. I get the latest generation. They're a game changer, right? Because it was designed with me in mind. I didn't know that that's what I needed. And I'll go to Ina, but just a heads up, I'm curious to understand the employees, don't like the word employees, humans, to understand the humans in an organization. It's about you understand them through data around their employee experience. So I'm curious about the future of the university. Are you thinking about, communicating to them based on who they are, based on their employee experience and their journey, all of the things? But Ina, maybe reflect on consumerization, and I gave a heads up to start thinking about, hey, I'm curious about data next.
Sounds good. At a high level, really the future of experience, consumerization of employee experience is closely intertwined with the future of work itself. How, where, by whom, with whom the work is done. And this in turn requires innovations in all aspects of talent processes across employee experience, recruiting and development and compensation, etc., etc. However, most importantly, it calls for creation of a culture to unleash and maximize what we call motivation or drive in diverse group of employees across the globe, each with their own aspirations, dreams, superpowers, if you will, right, and mastery, and in a way incubate, nurture, connect, and enable adventure teams to move beyond what was thought is possible.
Totally agreed with you. I mean, just, we talk to folks across countries, languages, perspectives, backgrounds. Oh my goodness. We actually, the podcast that we published today with folks at PepsiCo, we talked about neurodiversity. Folks that are especially with COVID and the effects after COVID, those that may have had, ADHD, the challenges and how they're processing information. But couldn't agree more. So my question about, we think a lot about employee experience on the podcast. And to me, the employee experience is kind of like customer experience. How do you understand that experience? Well, you look at data. What kind of data? That's a separate conversation. But how are you guys thinking about whether it's V-Next of TAP or maybe V-Final, and you're thinking about one day? Actually, is this program you think would be available for other organizations? If someone is listening in and goes, oh my goodness, this is so amazing, I'd like to consider this for my company. And I know I'm asking a question and another question, so I'll come back to the previous one. I got excited. Like, what happens if someone wants to learn more or wants to consider it for their organization? Oh, whoa, I caught you guys.
We're thinking.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we could say. I mean, so we have been exploring opportunities to share this, our experience and the lessons that we've learned and how to implement this type of mentality to other companies. In the area of the country that I am in, we're fairly involved in the Baldridge community, and so we're looking at that as an opportunity to share. And Ina can talk about some of the awards that we've been able to run or win, which gives us an opportunity, a platform to share. At this point, we haven't really been thinking of how do we bring it outside of the company, but it's certainly something that I think other companies can certainly do within their own organizations. I think, honestly, should do is think about how you can, well, let me give an example. So I spent many years managing people and equipment, and we had millions and millions of dollars worth of test equipment. And every year um, we would figure out, what are we going to do this year to upgrade the equipment, and large capital budgets and upgrade programs, and we wanted to make sure that all of our equipment is keeping up with all the latest trends. Maybe it's a new technology, maybe it's the roadmap changes, maybe we're getting into a different market space. But our equipment is so important to us. We spent a lot of money on it, so we want to make sure that we can, update it and adapt it and make it more reliable, make it more efficient, make it, capable for whatever the new technologies are. And this type of mentality, I want to employ, or I want to bring over to how we think about our employees. They are, as many companies say, they're our most important resource. Well, are we really putting the effort that we would on our equipment? Are we putting that kind of effort to keep our people well maintained, upgraded with the latest knowledge and learning and experiences and understanding of technology, understanding of new markets, of new roadmaps, of whatever? It's part of change management. Are we really taking that time and effort and that money to apply that to our employees? And that's kind of you'd asked about what the future, what the TAP V Next looks like, and it's just a deeper integration in my mind of this mentality of we've got amazing resources within our company, and if I'm an organizational leader, I'm going to look at the people that I have, and I'm going to look out 5 years and where does my organization need to be? What are the risks? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? And where are the gaps in my people? And in addition to where's the gaps in my equipment, where's the gaps in global footprint, where's the supply chain, all those other types of things. How do I apply that to my employees to get them what they need so that we can meet the objectives 5 years from now? So it's a real deep integration of this type of thinking that we've just scratched the surface, and we've only been doing it a year and a half. So,
well, you did. You're starting to validate the ROI potentially, early days. But now the question is, how do you scale this? How do you scale this to a level where this is, you said, it's part of the mentality, but also part of processes, technology. There's a lots involved. I saw you being ready to jump in there as well. Go ahead, please.
Oh, absolutely. We incubated the program, and we agreed right away that we're going to operate as a talent upskilling startup. And this has not changed. We're going to continue to operate this way. And this means that we put a product, and our aim is to scale the product. And going back to your question, can it be scaled outside Seagate? Yes, absolutely. The approach could be definitely scaled outside Seagate. And we're starting to expand externally pretty fast, considering that we're now only a year and a half old. We were awarded Brendan Hall Bronze Award, Best Program Supporting Business Transformation Strategy, and we did it even before we turned 1 year old. So Matt and I will be receiving award in the end of January at the
Congratulations.
Conference. Thank you. And this was very unexpected, but we played to win, right? We knew we didn't even turn 1 year old before we submitted, but we went for it. This program is referred to as a strategic initiative in all our external Seagate communications, executive communications, etc. And Christine, who is leading our engagement pillar, is really expanding fast in external realm. We have some features on LinkedIn. We're going to have some features on Parry Godboss, and etc. So we're just starting to scratch the surface because our focus is on the strategic business needs of our company and our executive stakeholders. But we're certainly expanding and we're scaling. Also, if we view TAP as evolving strategic initiatives, that's how it's referred to in external comm, and we kind of have the moonshot goal in mind, it's ultimately about transforming of how we refer to what we currently call as human resources or talent capital or human capital. Specifically making this shift because words empower mindset, from human capital to agile talent ecosystems, transcending these organizational silos and geographical boundaries. It is about continuously building and evolving these critical organizational skill sets of the future, while simultaneously also creating culture that enables these diverse teams, diverse employees, diverse human beings to thrive in any external environment. So that's a fundamental shift.
That's a lot in there. Like, you went deep. That you're so right. You're so right. We're really rethinking work, like just at a profound level. What does it mean? What is the role of a human inside the organization? And just going back to the question of, how can someone learn from you guys? Maybe I'll convince you to come to our conference, take on stage, go a little deeper, maybe even do some workshops. But I'll go to Christine. Your comments on either V Next or V Final, dream with us there for a few minutes if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So when you say V Next, it kind of just reminds me of, coincidentally, Pepsi, right? I know you just launched Pepsi, but Generation Next. And I think for TAP, it's really reaching the next generation of Seagate employees around the world. I feel like that's where we are going next, is we're doubling down on our people strategy. And our people strategy really is internally focused first, and development. I mean, that's where I sit in the world of HR is to support the CHRO. And I know her mindset is focusing on the talent we have right now versus the talent we want, and to grow our talent from within, because she really believes in it. I mean, I believe in our team too, because Seagate wouldn't be where it's at without the employees that we currently have. So it's really doubling down on that type of culture, our values, and really making employees feel that through programs like the Talent Acceleration Program. So, doing that, and then thinking about what our capabilities are going to be needed in not only 5 years, but maybe 10 years from now. And then shifting our TAP program to really tailor to those is preparing our organization now. I mean, that's what we need to do to succeed in the future, is we need to do this now so that we can thrive in the future. I think that's really what's going to be Generation Next for Seagate.
Love that. I mean, you guys lived up to, the chemistry and the Avenger vibe that you brought, which has been amazing. Christine, you mentioned, was CHRO that was asking those questions. Part of our season 2, we're actually going to be really thinking hard about, which C-level, will be the leader of the people initiatives. We're having serious internal debates, like intense debates. We have many contenders. We think CHRO is an obvious candidate, of course, but there's also the COO perspectives, right? Operational, Matt, you have operational backgrounds. We also think the CTO, CIO, given they have to be a part of the conversation, no doubt, because although I didn't push today on making employee data actionable, we didn't go too far into it. I foundationally believe this will be in whether it's your V Next or the V Next or next. But at some point, understanding the employee experience through data will be key. We're also curious about the CMO's role in all this, because when you think about brand and you think about, brand is a reflection of culture and they communicate externally, is it the CMO that's adding another audience? And how do they participate in all this? What if the CMO was a part of your program? But I kind of went into teasing out what's next. So Christine, Ina, Matt, just grateful for you taking the time. I know it was multiple sessions for us to produce this. I hope this is helpful for our audiences and our listeners, and I look forward to our next conversation. Maybe you guys will join our conference, but I'd love to stay in touch and see where TAP and the Avengers take it. So thank you, Matt, Ina, and Christine.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Been a great experience. Thank you.
Over and out.